Hey everyone, welcome back to First Ascent Podcast, a conversation about climbing. This episode is a unique one. As a lot of you know, we're coming up on, and this episode will be dropping on, the 1-year anniversary of Lee Hansche's death. Lee was my very good friend, my adventure partner, my route development partner, and my podcast partner. And I've been trying to keep this podcast going without Lee, but we did have almost 100 episodes together prior to his death. So I asked Laura, our incredible editor, to compile a list of the best of Lee in remembrance of him. I'm not sure I'm going to listen to this. I haven't listened to it yet. I was there. I remember a lot of our conversations, and to be quite honest, it's pretty hard to listen to it, and it's hard to do this intro because just the sense of loss is so great, and I'm still processing it, as I'm sure a lot of you are as well. So I hope you really enjoy this walk down memory lane of all the wisdom and the humor and the fun that we had on this podcast together. So thanks so much. Hope you guys all are out climbing, and thank you again for listening. Hey Lee, how's it going?
Doing pretty good. How about you, Jay?
Good. You weren't expecting me to press the record, were you?
I wasn't really expecting you to get out of bed this morning.
I don't often sleep in, and today was my sleep in day. So
yeah, it was also the day you said we were going to start the pod. So
it's interesting because it's just like, to say that I love beta is to say that I love climbing, right? I mean, like, it's the movement over the wall is the beta. And so if you don't refine it and think about it in sort of an expansive way, are you still doing beta or are you just rock climbing?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I have a better question.
Oh, cool.
If there's nobody to tell the beta to, does the beta still exist?
Is this like a tree fall in the woods kind of situation?
Exactly. Can beta exist on its own without it being communicated from one to another?
Yeah, which almost explains why there are so many beta sprayers out there, because maybe it's like, if it's not on Instagram, it never happened. Like, if they don't tell somebody how it's done, then their experience, basically disappears.
The best way I have to explain the need to shout beta is watching somebody trying to open a door by pulling it and knowing that you have to push the door open.
Oh, totally.
And it's like,
yeah.
I can watch it for a little bit, but like, I just can't watch the struggle for too long. And I just have to say something. I just can't watch a person just getting it so wrong. Like, I have to walk away.
It's a really good explanation, because I think like that might be informative for, people who are particularly sensitive to beta being sprayed at them. Yeah. It's like, no, like it was just I wanted to save you. This is my dad, Ernie. My understanding of it was that he always wanted to be a rock climber, but didn't have any climbing partners. So he raised 2 of us. And as soon as we were somewhat old enough and big enough to hold a rope for him, he went and learned how to do a little bit of rope work, and then taught us how to climb. And then it just kept going from there. So that was when I was around somewhere between 12 and 13 years old. And so that means it's been over 30 years that we've been climbing together, and we still climb together.
Yeah, try when you were about maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah. I actually tell people when I'm in the gym and I'm coaching little kids, I actually inform people that my earliest childhood memory is of my dad coaching me up a little rock called High Rock. Literally, my earliest memory is of him being like, all right, now where's your foothold? Look for your foothold. Okay. Now where's your next handhold? Look for your handhold. And so every time I say that to a new climber at the gym, when I'm working, I'm like, it brings me back. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just kind of feel like when I'm with certain people, I can perform so much better. And I think part of that is that if you do have this deeper connection with your belayer, you shouldn't be worried about whether they're going to get on their thing or whatever, because they're there 100% for you. They're not sitting down there selfishly thinking about what they need to do. So the way that Tori and I ended up being in our relationship, which is kind of my favorite word.
Hashtag relationship.
Our hashtag relationship was that when we started hanging out and I kind of introduced her to, I wasn't the first person that brought her out, but I kind of helped her learn the outdoor game. When I brought her up and checked out the Horcrux up at Welch and Dickey, and to give me a catch on it, and that was sort of when she understood what projecting was, and her desire to help me send that project was at that point at least as deep as my desire to climb the route, and it was a very selfless pursuit for her, where she just wanted to see me succeed, and so she helped me out, and so that inspired me to try to commit days to her where it was all about her and elevating her climbing. And so that's continued, and basically that's why she and I climbed together so much, and why we ended up in a good relationship, because everybody knows that climbing is a great metaphor for the rest of life, and that kind of transfers over to our relationship. So I don't know, that's my little soapbox about partnership.
I have a question for you.
Oh, I can't wait.
If you were to describe one climb to somebody who you met, that person was like, oh, you're a climber? What's climbing like? What would that one climb be?
That's interesting, because climbing is so many things.
What is the epitome rock climb for you? What is the platonic ideal of climbing? What experience did you have that was climbing boiled down to exactly what it is?
I just thought of a delightful climb that just kind of brings us all to mind. So 2 years ago, I think it was, Brent Dosher, photographer extraordinaire, follow him on Instagram. He was asked for some photos of Moby Grape by Climbing Magazine, because they were doing a little piece on Moby Grape. And they said, do you have any photos that we could use? And he said, I can by the end of the week. And so he called me and was just like, hey, you want to go do Moby Grape for photos? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So in classic Brent style, I think in the morning he went and ran the presidential ridge or something, because we wanted to get on it with good light conditions, which on Canon is usually in the shade in the afternoon. So we got on there at 2:00, and he had another friend leading while he followed. And then I was leading and Tori was following. So basically that way the photographer and me, which was the leader for most of our pitches, were right next to each other the whole time. So as I'm leading, he's jugging / climbing to get into position for photos. And it was just such a nice day out. So basically Brent and I were kind of chit-chatting as I climbed, and it was really interesting to be up in that position and be very comfortable, just hanging out, talking with a friend. It was just like talking, sitting on the couch, but we were up climbing around, and it was just a beautiful spot. And then when we would all end up on ledges together, then we all were, chit-chatting, hanging out, and just having a good time. And we just did that throughout the whole climb, and it was just beautiful. We played around a little bit on the finger of fate, took posed shots, dangling from the finger, and it just played. And the whole thing just felt the whole climb just felt so playful and non-epic. And that's kind of what I go for in climbing. I want to be out there having type 1 fun and just enjoying it. And so we topped out. We started the climb at 2, and we topped out, in the early evening, and the sun was going down, and there's a beautiful golden sunset. We shot some more photos and just hiked down and watched, the ridge over by Lafayette turn to gold. And we hiked down and just had a nice day out. That was kind of what I go for and what I feel like when I think about just the perfect climbing day.
So in other words, the perfect climbing day is a day when you get your photo taken.
I could hear that building. As I was talking, I could hear that Jay's going to spin this some way that doesn't make it sound that doesn't make it sound like a really idyllic, beautiful day out.
Here's something about Jolt. It is the most classic pile of choss that I've ever climbed anywhere. It really is amazing climbing. And the more I learn about rock and the way that rock is all held together, it's not held together that much, like that is a sketchy piece. So,
well, before that big piece broke off, everyone who climbed it was like, I can't believe that this is climbable, that this is still up here. And then turns out after a while it wasn't.
Yeah. And then like you could go down into the woods and find the block that still has the anchors on it. Wow. I've had to point this out for numerous people where, say you're on a 5.8 or a 5.9 or whatever, and some person who's climbing it just has a bad day. They slip off, they're having a hard time, and they come down and they start shitting on themselves, being like, oh, I suck. I couldn't even do a 5.8. I couldn't even do this thing. I'm like, yo, shut it. That person over there was just really proud of themselves for like 5 hanging this thing. Like,
totally.
You can't, that's like, again, one of those shitty humble brags,
Oh, that's the worst. You know what? I can't stand climbers, man.
Yeah.
When we do send a hard route, if it took a toll on our body, we'll back off and I said our body. We don't actually share a body, guys, just so you know. On our respective bodies.
Wow.
Anyway, if it takes a toll on the body, then you step back and kind of climb. You change disciplines, maybe go do some trad climbing, which is typically at a slightly lower level. If you're feeling kind of weak, you maybe do some bouldering. I don't know. Is that a thing that people do?
Yeah, reports are in that people do bouldering.
Okay.
I know you don't. I did a lot when I was younger.
Same here. Yeah, no, I went a couple of years without really doing much rope climbing at all. I used to go to Bishop every year, and I was a pad person. But that was back before you had to have 7 pads. And of course, the people that came before us are sitting here being like, I had a towel. I put a towel.
It was a big deal when I had a piece of carpet.
Yeah.
I had like the floor mat from my 1979 Dodge Dart.
Right. A carpet square. I had a carpet square.
Gates in or gates out on your harness?
Oh, nice. All right. Finally, a conversation where there's a right and a wrong answer.
See, I actually think that we're on opposite sides of this issue. This is an issue that tears friendships apart.
This is the episode. This is the tearing the friendship apart.
Brother
episodes.
Against brother.
We've needed a little bit more drama around here.
Gates in or gates out? You're gates out, right?
Every time.
You are so wrong. It's gates in.
But it works better, so there's that.
How? Tell me how. Justify yourself.
I don't know what you have, but I have a human hand. And when I reach down, I slide my hand essentially along my hip until I get to the carabiner. Yeah. I open the gate with my thumb, and I'm able to reach up without having to readjust and place it in either direction. It's good to go. And the carabiner, the spine of the carabiner lays flat against my body instead of sticking out at an odd angle. All right, go.
Your method requires a twisting action of your wrist. Mm-hmm. My method, my wrist goes straight down, unclips the carabiner, lifts it straight up.
I don't twist my wrist. I don't twist my wrist.
You have to have like a down motion.
No, a human hand. I'm using a human hand.
Oh, thanks for the clarity.
I was a punk rock kid. I was into like the straight edge hardcore scene. So I was, kind of, I don't know, openly punk, we'll say. At the same time, like at my core, I was sort of still very much the same person. So I tried to be nice to everybody. And, I wasn't like, I got along with everyone. It wasn't like, my crew against your crew or anything like that. But I did some weird things. Like I was still punk, but I had like this hippie phase where I was like, I'd like carry around like a little drum and, all that stuff.
Oh, God.
That was like my lowest.
Did you have a hacky sack? How many hacky sacks did you have?
I mean, you don't need many. You only have like 2 feet. So like whatever, but I would skip class and play hacky sack with all the hippie kids and stuff. But this was still like, it was weird because I was still punk rock and I had like my punk friends and stuff. But then I would go hang out. I'm like, hey, I like playing hacky sack. I'm going to go hang out with the hippie kids. And I'd make fun of them for listening to Fish, and they'd make fun of me for, listening to Screamcore and all that. So it was fun.
I would like to thank you, Lee, for having a new sweatshirt on, not the same blue sweatshirt that you've been wearing every day.
The funny thing is I am very habitual about things like wearing the same purple pants all the time. And so it's actually the same hoodie I've been wearing, but in a new color because I really liked it anyway. So Tori got me a new color. So if anybody sees me in a kind of bright greeny, yellowy kind of shirt, it's still me. It's the same guy as the one with the blue one.
Well, the blue one wasn't bad by itself, but when it was paired with the exact same style and color blue La Sportiva pants, it was like a one-piece blue suit.
So here's an issue I had. I vowed I liked both of those pieces. That's what we call it when we're assembling an outfit. I liked those pieces.
Oh, yeah.
The top and the bottom.
You like the colorway, did you?
Yeah. So I liked the pieces. And when I bought them, I vowed to myself silently that I would never wear them together. And they both became two of my favorite pieces to wear. And they ended up on me together kind of often.
Like every time I've climbed with you in the last year.
The blue La Sportiva pants with the La Sportiva shirt, which just is horrible because like I got them when I bought my first pair of La Sportiva shoes, like since the 90s, since the early 90s. And I was just like, oh yeah, now I wear this. But it was not like that, man.
You're like Garth in Wayne's World.
Right, absolutely.
With this Nike hat and Nike everything. People just do things because they're getting paid. It's just really sad.
But the funny thing is I ran into this guy at Red Rocks yesterday. Okay, so we were over at the Ragged Edges wall. Do you know where that is? It's kind of in Willow.
No, it's
Willow
on the
Springs.
sandstone, so I'm not really interested.
So it's kind of in the back of the canyon. A lot of people listening will know this wall. There's this off-width, like a 5'9" off-width corner that I've always kind of looked at. It doesn't look classic, but it looks like a grunt, and that's always kind of fun. So I had my wide stuff with me and I'm like, whatever, I'll lead this thing. So I kind of did a proper grovel up this thing. I get up to the top and I'm like, and like, of course you grovel the nice off width, and then you're paid off with like this choss ass chimney that doesn't protect for like 60 feet. And it was just like a full epic. So I get to the top and there's this guy up top and he goes, we're chit chatting about where we're from. And I said, I climb out at Rumney in New Hampshire a bit. He's like, oh yeah, I know Rumney. He's just like, yeah, you look like a sport climber. And I was thinking to myself, what about me looks like a sport climber? I just groveled up this chimney. Dude, like
it's
whatever.
your La Sportiva blue suit.
And then I look down and I go, oh shit, I'm wearing a bright blue La Sportiva uniform.
They give that out on the first day of sport climbing camp.
Yeah.
They give out that uniform.
But if I may, I feel like, being a Lee, right, being me is a little bit like juxtaposition is kind of standard, right? So I'm doing this thing that doesn't line up with this other thing, right? So I'm doing this trad thing, but looking like a total sport weenie. It just seems like something I'd do, You remember when I did that route up at Russell, Devil Inside, and I was just like absolutely, just screaming from the depths,
Yeah. It was a little much. To the one listener we have, this is an aside, it was a bit much. It was a bit much with the screaming.
Yeah, it wasn't my decision. It was definitely perhaps a devil inside.
I feel a lot better if I've actually done the route, but I haven't. I tried and I broke a hold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll happen.
And then I stopped trying.
Yeah, I think all you did was you went there and upgraded it and then left. I think that was...
that's kind of my move. That's the other move I have.
Yeah, you've upgraded most of my harder routes.
Well, you're burdened by this modesty that I don't feel burdened by.
Perhaps.
Oh, I don't want my roots downgraded, so this thing's a 5.7, and all the people there are like falling on it. And
yeah, well, when you think about it, maybe I'm just burdened with like a talent that you're not.
That's one thing that I've always said is that I am uniquely unburdened by talent.
Oh yeah,
in climbing.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest, both of us, we climb similar grades in a similar style.
Ish.
So Yeah. So if you want a well-rounded perspective, we're not it. It's like, definitely work out all the footwork, find all the balance positions, and just try not to pull on your hands too hard.
Well, yeah, like we were talking, we're not going to improve on footwork.
Yeah.
I mean, the only improvement that we have in our future is just getting stronger.
Right.
And that's like, it's so hard to get stronger.
And I remember when you pointed that out to me and I actually started like believing you. Such just like a down kind of day. I was just like, oh, no. I have to get strong if I want to get better.
Yeah, no, you're not going to get better by getting better. Like you're going to get better by getting stronger.
Yeah. So actually, I'm kind of psyched for that. I just have to start doing it, Doing this podcast is kind of like buying a van, It might not be the best decision, but it's one we're psyched on.
My new experience at the Crag is just being like, hey, how's it going? And that person being like, you're full of shit. Like, I've never met you before.
Yeah, which is hilarious because when I meet people at the Crag, they go, oh, hey, Jay's full of shit.
That's been going on for 20 years.
Yeah, that's true. But I wasn't so closely associated with you. So now I get all the benefits of a close association with the guy that's full of shit.
Yeah. And you're just like above it all, like, oh, super zen, Lee's all zen, whatever.
Oh, it's just a ploy just to make you look bad.
Yeah. It's the long con.
My dad and I were going up to go ice climbing. We went up to Frankenstein and he like forgot his gloves. So he stopped and bought these like dollar store gloves. And I was just like, dude, this is not going to work. And so we were discussing how bad his hands were going to be cold and also whether he had the screaming pukies before. And he's like, yeah, I used to swing a hammer, carpentry in the winter. I've had my hands as cold. He's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, are you sure that you've had, this? I've also heard it called freeze thaw and whatever. But and he's like, yeah. And we're halfway up the Penguin, which, you do like a long first pitch and then you get to a ledge and then you have to do a technical pitch. And he's about like 10, 15 feet below me. And there's like an ice head wall, a steep section to get up to me. And he looks, I got to warm my hands up. I'm like, all right. So he goes to warm his hands up and he's like, Lee, wow, this isn't good. This hurts. Oh, and he's like, it feels like my fingers are splitting in half. And I was like, yeah, now you get it. And he's just like, wait, oh man, I don't feel so good. And he's just like, I might pass out. And I'm like, you are not going to fucking pass out. I was like swearing at him. You are going to get your ass up to this ledge because we can go up 100 feet or we can go down 150 feet. But you passing out on the end of my rope is not happening right now.
Good family moment.
Oh, absolutely. I think I'm maturing as a climber in a way because I used to really stress a lot about what I didn't have time for, as far as like, there are only so many things I can climb. And I would legitimately lose sleep just thinking about this long list of routes that I wanted to climb and cliffs I wanted to visit and things like that. And I think now I'm like starting to get more acceptance of like, well, let's focus on the things that I'm climbing, like I'll focus on what I can do. I still have this list, but it doesn't keep me up at night. Yeah. My relationship with time is becoming healthier, I think. I think that climbing gets the most time from me, but I can't say that it's number one. I think that my relationships are still number one. And, you can only have so many of those, like ones that, you really put first. I think that's a challenge for everybody in climbing or anything that they're passionate about is like, you kind of say, you want it to be number one, but it can't be, like my spouse and my good friends are definitely, and my family, I got to remember my family. Yeah, they're definitely my first priority. And I have great gratitude for my family members and friends for understanding that climbing is important enough to me and to fueling my soul that they
accommodate you.
Kind of, yeah, quote, I was going to say, quote, let me, but I think accommodate me is the best way to put it because I'm going to be better for them when I'm being good to me. You know
I'm
what I
going
mean? Like,
climbing for you.
Yeah. They don't understand
You
No, I'm
don't
just
want to
kidding.
be around me when I haven't been climbing for a long time. Like, this is benefiting everyone. I have to go to Indian Creek in the fall, like, because if I didn't, I would be awful to be around.
Yeah, Jay's saying this in jest, but I mean, I feel like this has big Jay energy attached to it. Tori's always got my back. Last night, she was like, "Hey, you and Jay should go climb Women in Love," and I was just like, "Yeah." She's like, "It's perfect for you guys. You guys are the perfect partnership for that route. You should go get it." And I'm like, yeah, we should."
Wait, why are we the perfect partnership for that route?
It's because we are men that are in love. No,
because we are the modern day Max Jones and Mark Hudon.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't pry. I just took the compliment and moved on. Deal with it.
Okay. So that's the difference is when Kate compliments me, I'm like, tell me all about this.
Tell me why. Why? I think you're lying.
Like I would like a paragraph of analysis on what this means.
Yeah, you're not denying the compliment. You're like, please dig in.
Yes, go on.
Yes. Even reading about somebody who has an accent, I'm a mimic. Like I have to do the voice. Like, so if I'm by myself in my car and somebody on the radio has, say, a Chicago accent, I'm like, I start being like, oh yeah, the car, like, oh yeah, I don't know. Basically, like I have to like see if I can get it, you know? Do you do that at all?
Oh, for crying outside.
I love that one. Crying outside.
Wait, so you just like take whomever's accent that you hear?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have no standards or personality?
Wow, that was a huge jump, even for you at 8 a.m.
Have you no shame?
No, so,
Mr. Hansche?
So just cruising right past that. So you know how I'm into birding. So when I'm
I try to forget, but yes, thanks for reminding me.
So when I'm listening to bird calls, I try to do them. Like it's a compulsion basically to try to make the noise that I hear. The other thing
do birds have accents?
Oh yeah. Actually they do. Like there's
like would a Midwestern sparrow sound different than an Eastern sparrow, which would be different than an African sparrow?
now we're riffing on Monty Python. Is that an African or European swallow? Anyway, no, but there really are dialects like to bird calls. So yeah, like
seriously, that's
certain
crazy.
Sparrows that are like widespread, like a song sparrow, there'll be slightly different dialects in different areas.
Is it regional?
Yeah.
Like a Texas sparrow would sound different than a New England sparrow.
Yeah, I wish I could do a good Texas accent here because I'd be like, I don't know, I'd kind of make something off of that. But no, it's a thing. So I'm getting from this that you're completely uninterested in the topic of whether you're actually a mimic. So you do not mimic things. You are rooted firmly in reality, and you are the way you are, and screw everybody else. Is that pretty much the idea?
I would say that I'm the platonic ideal of Jay.
Okay.
I am like the ultimate Jayness.
Nice. Yeah, you're kind of an ultimate ATIS sometimes.
Like I was actually hanging on Vision Thing, and a climber walked by and was like said to his other friend, so I could hear, "I've never hung there."
Okay, like let's just step back like from this like the minutia of it and just sort of have a moment to remember that I don't know, personally I've always thought it was absolutely silly to think that any of us could think that we were better people or cooler people because we can climb up some arbitrary rock.
Yeah.
And we don't even typically climb to the top, you know, like
No.
we go up to wherever we put the anchors and come back down, you know, it's like, it doesn't change anything. My next one is, and you're going to love this because, you know, you'll be like, dude, man, music at the crag. I'm sorry, just fuck music at the crag. Turn it off.
I knew you would choose this. I feel like this was the reason why you wanted to do this prompt, is so that you could choose this.
You're getting close. You're getting close.
You so rarely take a strong stand on something. So rarely. And I respect it when you do. Like, it's kind of cool because it's like, wow, it's like seeing a dog walk on its hind legs. You're like, well, that's you pay attention.
I can also walk on my hind legs. So
I respect your hatred of music at the Crag, and I wouldn't play music at the Crag if you were there.
Thank you.
Or would I?
Depends who was there first.
I've tried, and you've like made sort of like little snarky comments, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
It's funny. I climbed with Vance last weekend.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And Vance White, when he was on the pod, we talked about music at the Crag, and he was cranking like the early 90s hip hop at the Crag. It was a kind of a nice vibe.
Oh, it's the worst. So the funny thing is, I do see folks like yourself who like music at the Crag, but won't play it, just won't walk in, kick in the door and just make everybody listen to what you want to listen to. Like you're not doing that, which is really the biggest issue for me. But I am really surprised, like honestly, sort of shocked how many people like post videos when it's just their crew at a Crag and no one else is around, who you can hear that they're playing music at the Crag because it's all their Crag. I'm like, I don't want anybody to mistake this, that my music is okay, but yours isn't. Like, I don't like music in nature. Like, that's just not anything I want to mix. And so it's sort of interesting that a lot of people do respect that social norm and respect the people, but a lot of people do honestly like music. They just know that not everybody's going to agree on which music. For me, I'm like, no, I really just love to hear the sounds of nature. So the few Crag cats that I've ever seen were some of my favorite things I've seen at the Crag. So I am picking favorites. So bring your Crag cats and I'll pet them.
There's a reason why Crag cats haven't caught on, because it doesn't work.
Stop trying to make Crag cats a thing.
Yeah, Crag cats are the new fetch. Actually, speaking of fetch, like that might be what the dogs are doing with the Crag cats.
That's true. Yeah. Careful with your cats. Anyway, and then one of my favorite things at a kind of busy Crag is when the nice people who are smiling and bantering share snacks. So if you've got like a bag of gummy bears or some some treat that you have and you're just like, hey, you want some? Like I share my treats, and I always love it when other people are sharing their treats. So that's something I feel like is just fun loving at the Crag. So as a guide, I had a really cool experience recently. It wasn't on an official guiding trip, but I was down in the Gunks climbing with Tori and my friends Jody and Catherine. And Jody and Catherine are both students of mine that have been coming to me for years.
The students become the teachers.
There you go. But we did a long, we did a three pitch route in the Gunks, super exposed, and it was like not difficult for them physically, but like it was a big adventure, and it was kind of a thing, So
was it Shockley ceiling?
No, it was Yum Yum Yab Yum.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Over on the Nears, yeah. So anyway, that was so cool. Tori and I climbed above them, and then whoever was following in our party, because we swapped leads, but whoever was following in our party just hung out just above the person that was leading in their party, and could watch what they were doing and make little comments if needed about, what would work well is if you extend that piece. If you look a little bit to the left, there's a better piece. And so it was a really cool idea of like having this sort of guide on your shoulder while you're leading. Because so as a guide, it's kind of a terrifying thing the first time you let someone just lead a pitch.
I can't imagine.
It's insane, and you're trying to guess while they're 50, 60 feet above you, how well they're putting that piece in. You're trying to remember the crack. You're trying to look at what they pulled off their rack. It's anxiety inducing. So to be standing there, and then they build an anchor right next to my anchor, and I can, make comments about the anchor. It was really, really cool. So that would be awesome for folks. As I'm heading into an on-site, I'm sort of initially looking for the resting spots, right? So I'm like I check out the entire route and look at where I might be able to catch a rest, and then pick out what sequence I can come up with wherever there might be a question mark, as far as like, I'm not really sure, what that section's like, but there's a rest before it and there's a rest after it, or something at least that I can
predict. And then, pulling onto the route, the whole idea of just staying relaxed in the moment and trying to assess what you're capable of doing versus what you might need to do, So I'm trying to nail every sequence as well as I can, but then being willing to improvise where necessary. I really like that process of taking a gamble here and there, like, okay, well, if I hang out on this hold trying to come up with the ideal solution, I'm going to pump out. And so I know I can do this, right? So, maybe you end up putting in a couple letter grades more or, effort or more, number grade effort more, but knowing like sort of what you're capable of and blasting through the next rest. If you wasted some energy, maybe taking a minute to get your mental state back to a good place so that you can move forward, fresh, kind of leave behind the mistakes and continue on fresh, and just trying to keep that mind calm, which kind of goes back to something we discussed on one of the episodes, keeping your mind calm while things are kind of intense. I mean, I kind of jumbled through that, but basically that's the mental process that I'm working through.
So the cool thing is that the beta improves over time, and sometimes that can lead to the route actually being proven to be easier than it was originally thought to be.
Oh, it's a Mark Sprague route.
There we go. I kind of had a feeling. Anyway, so, things can change over time. And it's like, I look at it like an oral history where, over time, generation after generation, we're passing down the information, and the history evolves and changes and expands. And so I just love that. And climbers being somewhat of a tribal group of people, it kind of harkens back to, ancient times when there were no history books to read, and you could just listen to the elders talk and learn about their experiences and how they did something. And then you add to that knowledge and pass it down to your, the people that are coming up under you. So yeah, it's very, very primal in my opinion.
I say that beta is like lore.
And then I say the same thing with more words.
Yeah.
Why do we bother, right? Like, there's plenty of rock climbs out there. I was actually having this conversation with Tori as we were driving through the Rockies and kind of looking at, each of the crazy climbing areas that we went through, and just like, there's a whole lot more potential than there is rock climbing, but it's kind of like there's enough climbing. Climbing is growing, but there's enough climbing for people to do. And so I started asking myself, like, everywhere we went, we were like, oh, it'd be cool to put up roots there. It'd be cool to put up roots there. And we were like, well, why? Like, there's so much other stuff to climb. And then it kind of came down for me to the idea of it's sort of modern exploration as well as an artistic outlet, but it's exploring, it's discovering new things. And I think that's just something that is sort of wired in us, is that desire to discover.
Thanks for listening to this episode of First Ascent Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review us on your podcast platform. This is what keeps us going. And if you want more content, we have a Patreon page. You can search First Ascent Pod on Patreon. And finally, you can follow us on Instagram at First Ascent Pod, or my personal Instagram at JAYKNOWER. Thanks so much, and keep sending.